Hey, we're back with American Miscellany. We've just finished quite a long essay about the power of music, and we're here on page 198 of this beautiful book. We're on essay number 80 already, and we're going to learn a little bit about slavery in Russia. So let's see what they knew in 1865 about slavery in Russia. Essay number 80. There are 4 millions of serfs in Great Russia, the largest slave population in the world. 40 millions of men, glebe ascripti, not sure, I think that might be Latin, glebe adscripti, attached to the soil, bought and sold with the soil on which they are born and on which they die. Upward of 20 millions of these serfs belong to the crown, the remainder to the nobles. Previous to the 16th century, the peasantry of Great Russia retained the privilege of moving from place to place, held their free disposal of their persons, and sold their services for a term of years. In 1598, when Boris Gedinov ascended the throne and sought the support of the nobles, he made a law by which the peasant was bound to the soil and became the property of the noble. Is that when it started? 1598. The value of an estate in Weliki, Russia, depends more on the number of its peasants than its acres. Some occupy a vast extent of country and contain as many as 100,000 souls. The proprietor pays an annual tax of about $1.60 upon every serf. The condition of the latter varies according to the circumstances and disposition of the master. As a general rule, he has a house and a piece of ground, and the privilege of feeding a cow upon the common near the village. For these he pays with his labor. The steward of the Lord assigns him a daily task, which is easily accomplished before noon. The remaining hours are at his own disposal, except in harvest, and certain other times, when he and his wife must turn out onto the field. He cannot leave the estate or learn a trade without permission. The master must maintain him, furnish him with food and medicine when it is necessary, and is liable to a fine if he is found destitute or begging upon the highway. Not a bad setup. Stray serfs, runaways, or peasants, whether free or bound, roaming without a passport, are detained and advertised, and if not reclaimed or relieved by the owner of some responsible person, are sold at public sale. The proprietor cannot oblige the serf to marry contrary to his inclination. And on the other hand, the clergy cannot marry him without the permission of the master. The serf cannot be sold off the estate or separated from his family, and many other humane provisions have been made for his happiness and safety. But it is futile to speak of rules and regulations in a country where wealth and birth give despotic power. The proprietor is governed in his actions entirely by his interest, and he treats his peasants precisely as he pleases. He sells them whenever a good price is offered. He sends them wherever it suits his convenience. He makes them weave or plow. He hires them out by the month or year, just as it pleases him to do. In the same way, he may treat them with kindness or with blows, but as they are generally regarded as insensible and ungrateful, they get more kicks than favors. The serf cannot accuse the master. If the blows of the latter cause death within 3 days, he is fined, but if the serf lives more than 3 days after severe punishment, the master is not liable. If the serf is killed without premeditation by any other than the master, the killer pays the master $308. If he is killed with a premeditation, there is no indemnification for the master, and the murderer is responsible to the police. That the Russian serfs are often sold without the lands on which they dwell is truly stated by Mr. Maxwell, but we believe he is mistaken in saying that they cannot be sold by law. The Imperial Council has once formally determined that such sales are illegal. In the subjoined passage, the reader will notice several remarkable resemblances between the Russian serf and the Negro slave. The posadki, or freemen, cannot hold lands or serfs, but they have other privileges, and in the distant provinces display, as we have mentioned, all the natural vigor of the race, and are distinguished for industry, and have the most indefatigable perseverance in the pursuit of gain. But the serf has not the same inducements, and exhibits none of the activity and industry so remarkable in the posadki. He is the creature of apathy, and all the stirring qualities of his nature are latent and undeveloped. He works as he is directed and manifests the same rude ability in any employment he may follow. He is ordered to be a musician, mechanic, or manufacturer, and becomes either of these with astonishing facility, though he excels in none. Neither the fear of the lash nor the promise of reward can force him to work with the plane or saw, but with the hatchet which he always carries at his girdle, he will hew the forest trees, prepare his logs and plank, build a house, and make his furniture. That kind of sounds exactly like my great-grandfather, actually. He never exerts his full strength. If the burden is a heavy one, he calls for assistance. It is a common thing to see 100 men holding to a rope and hauling a stone or a piece of timber that would have been handled with ease by 12 or 20 Englishmen. On such occasions, before the united effort is made, the Russian workmen sing for some minutes in chorus, and the end of the song is the signal for the pull together. After 2 or 3 pulls, they stop, and the singing begins again, and so on to the completion of the work, more than half the time at least being passed in these musical interludes. The task is therefore often a light one, and is easily performed. When it is finished, the laborer is at liberty to employ himself as he pleases. Should he do double duty, however, he would not be rewarded, and instances are known, within the observation of the writer, where the offer of the peasants to perform an extra task has been rejected, and for the reason that any such proceeding was unusual, and calculated to produce confusion. So the serf, leaving his wife to cultivate his garden and tend the loom, loiters away the balance of the day in indolence. The disinclination of the serf to hard work, his apathy under chastisement, the necessity of employing half a dozen to do the work of one, the lightness of his tasks, and his practice of singing when several work in company, are circumstances in which he resembles the African slave, as seen in the southern states and in the West Indies. Mr. Maxwell points out some other resemblances, such as the frequency of great longevity among the serfs, and the extraordinary multiplication of the race. Every year, another million is added to the population of the Russian Empire.